I've played a video game. It's possible that so have you. If that's true, first of all, I'm sorry that your back is acting up. Secondly, you probably remember this level, specifically this part here. Skill issue? Or were you just always this bad at video games? Let's talk game design. First, a bit of background. This is the officially licensed NES tie-in game for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Or if you're British, the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because our government was weird and stupid and thought ninjas were bad for your children. No, really, look it up. It's a combat-focused 2D platformer released in 1989, or for the younger amongst you, 17BR, before Roblox, where you play as all four of the gang, Raphael is the best, fight me, with their signature melee weapons and a bunch of power-ups, taking out swarms of infinitely respawning enemies across warehouses and sewers to rescue April O'Neil, beat up Rocksteady and Bebop, and ultimately stop Shredder, who is, let's be honest, the coolest villain from an 80s cartoon. Absolutely none of which you'll be seeing in this video, because that's not why people remember this game. No, what they remember is this, the Dam. A timed underwater level where you swim through a confusingly similar arrangement of bricks and water to disarm some bombs set to blow up a dam. First lesson here is we're using both the words timed and underwater, so you already know it's basically hell. But believe it or not, neither of those things alone are what makes this so memorable. The part that you think you remember it for is this, bright pink seaweed that is, for reasons that are never explained, electrifying. Narrow gaps you need to swim through that look impossible, and a shared traumatic experience of an entire generation of children yelling, "That's not fair, I didn't touch it." What you actually remember it for is a combination of things that make this level harder than it should be, and we're going to fix it. Let's start from the top. Oh, and as we play through this, you will notice that neither the timer nor my health are going down. The reason for this is that I'm playing with cheats. This is because making a YouTube video is hard enough by itself without me dying over and over again to get the footage to make a point about game design. What you're watching now while I tell you this is sped up footage of me actually completing the level properly, just so you know that you can trust me. Trust me, bro. Like I said, we're underwater. You've spent the entire game so far running left to right, jumping acrobatically and hitting things with ninja weapons. And now you're bobbing around in a river, rapidly smashing the A button to swim upwards. Believe it or not, the level is actually well designed here. You start off in a big open space, nice and carefree except for the blinking timer, given room to at least get used to how this feels and works. Nothing is trying to kill you yet, you're not in danger, you can swim about and get your bearings. Over to the right, you've got a sporadic electric zapping barrier thingy that you can see when you start, so you're immediately warned about some of the danger you'll be facing. So far so good, right? So you get a handle on the physics and controls and swim through the dangerous electric barrier. Next thing you'll notice is... Here's problem number one, and it isn't seaweed. It's one of the things people forget because it didn't register at the time because you were 3 years old and powered by high fructose corn syrup. When you move around, the camera pans with you. Except it doesn't, because you're over in this front third of the screen, so all of a sudden you've got no future sight for what you're moving towards. Which means things can come out of nowhere before you've got time to react to them. Like I said, people forget this because it wasn't uncommon in the 80s and nobody had the forethought to say, hang on a minute, maybe we should fix that. But now it's 2026, so hang on a minute, maybe we should fix that. Let's say that you can handle that though, and we'll move on to... See this part here? Pay attention. I'm not pressing anything, but you'll notice I'm being pulled around anyway. Why? Because this is water, and water levels are horrible. In this specific case, it's an undercurrent that starts pulling at you when you hit specific sections of the level. There's no real indication of it happening, it just does. And the force either adds to or pulls at your momentum in whatever direction you're trying to go. Remember how you got given a nice safe little space at the start to learn the physics of underwater movement? About that. There's a few of these in the level, and if you combine that with no foresight from the zooming camera, you might notice much too late that you're being pulled into instant death. Oh, right. Seaweed. Not the pink electric stuff, we'll get there later. No, instead there's little sections of the level that we'll charitably call death bits, where this particular different seaweed reaches up and grabs you from a visually pretty far distance and you just die. Well, according to April, you get caught, but they probably couldn't write drown in a suffocating tangle of monstrous vines, could they? And of course, this is where that first pulling force undercurrent shows up, because of course it is. When you first do this, you've got a high chance of overestimating your safe proximity to this stuff. You're closer than you think you are, and a lot of people will have their first "no, that's not fair" angry screaming baby moment around here. But that's okay, now you know about it. Now you've mastered the swimming physics and random currents and you're keeping your eyes peeled for reactionary hazards because of the lazy camera, so you're good, right? No. Now we can move on to... You're swimming around disarming bombs. You're aware of big electric zappy things going from floor to ceiling, blasting your green ninja mutant reptile skin. You're on top of things, so you think you can handle it. Then you get here, going to disarm this particular bomb. Maybe you make it there without taking damage. Well done. Then you try and make it out again and... oh, there's a current pulling you to the right. There's 2 electric zappy thingies. There's little to no space in between them to stop until they come back again. You are going to take damage. It is inevitable. Sorry. If you're an incredibly talented speedrunner, please do feel free to get into the comments and tell me how this tiny section of a 1989 licensed video game underwater level is perfectly possible if you're just good at video games, and how this is a skill issue on the part of my addled old boomer brain. But fine, you can accept that. You've got a sizable health bar, you're locked into the physics, you're aware of the dangers, a couple of hits won't be the death of you. You know where you're going. Well, except for... there's a section here with 2 exits. One goes up, one goes to the right. Which one do you pick? Spoilers, both. No matter which one you choose first, you'll need to come back later because there's another bomb in a different direction, so you're forced to loop back on yourself. Fine, you think. I'll just check the map, and the map will tell me where these bombs are so I can plan a route and it'll be okay. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think there'd be a map? Well, there is, actually, but this is it. Does it tell you anything? No, of course not. April O'Neil will though, because she's a journalist and somehow omniscient. But it's only how many bombs are left, because why would it be anything helpful? So you can't tell where you are, you can't tell where the bombs are, and at least one of them requires mandatory backtracking through a loop in either of 2 directions in a timed underwater level with a 2-minute 30-second deadline. And I still haven't mentioned the electric pink seaweed. Here we go, this part. Strap in and pay attention because we're about to use numbers, and some of you are going to find that a bit overwhelming. This is a hitbox. Well, it's a green square, but right now it represents something called a hitbox. Many of you will know what that is and some of you won't. A hitbox is invisible and it sits underneath the graphics of a video game to calculate movement, physics, collisions, effects, momentum, all kinds of things. This is where the game part of a video game happens while you watch, I suppose, the video part. When 2 hitboxes collide, or hit each other, things happen. Damage, for example. Now stay with me because we're about to get complicated. It's okay, I believe in you, you've got this. I can't tell you what resolution to watch this video in, but for context, let's assume that this orange box represents what you know as 4K. Then in relation to that, this blue box represents 1080p, or full high definition. This little green box in the middle is the maximum size of what the NES was capable of. 256 pixels by 240 pixels. Tiny, right? More than that, we're going to cover it in this cute little grid of 8x8 squares. If you squint really hard, you'll be able to see those. Now, the NES, with all of its power and capacity for something with less technical prowess than a DVD player, tried to see if any of these little squares was interacting with another one of these little squares, 60 times per second. Back to our little green hitbox. Now this is going to sound obvious, but something you'll notice is these squares are all, well, square. Teachable moment. Squares are square. Seaweed is not square. A turtle is not square. These round circular hazards moving in an orbiting circle around another dangerous circle are not square. Lots of things in a video game are not, in fact, square. So when squares collide with squares and have things that aren't squares over the squares that are squares colliding with other squares representing things that also aren't square, it can all get a bit confusing and visually wildly inaccurate. All of this comes together to form invisible squares, hitting other invisible squares behind non-square things overlapping other non-square things in tight spaces on a tiny screen, and what that results in is, this is really unfair, I didn't touch it. Do you see? Are you still with me? Did you make it? An important thing to remember is this isn't the NES's fault as such, it's just the limits of what was possible at the time. Why this all became a legendary level of difficult is its lots of little limits, all of which we've already talked about, like lazy camera panning, inaccurate insta-death proximity, no visual guide for the undercurrent, and now squares being square. All stacking on top of each other in underwater physics and slightly confusing direction with a time limit. It's not one singular lack of good design or even intentionally evil, it's just like a perfect storm of hardware capability, level design and game mechanics running into each other in your formative childhood years. Now, those of you who've been paying attention, first of all, well done, I'm proud of you. And secondly, you'll remember I said towards the start that after I'd explained all of this, we were going to fix it. But the question is... yes, we can. And here's how. I have now recreated the damn level. Full disclosure, I took the level layout directly from the excellent Spriters Resource website. And the most important thing for you to be aware of is I didn't change anything. I didn't broaden the walls, I haven't altered the layout, I haven't taken the timer away, and I haven't moved the bombs around to stop the forced backtracking. I haven't added a map, and I've even taken out April being able to tell you how many bombs are remaining, as well as being able to shift between turtles. There's actually less involved in the remake than there was in the original. So what exactly have I done, and how can it possibly be fixed? Simple. Remember those little boxes? The squares? I fixed them. You can even see them now if you want. The little remake is available in your web browser, playable with a keyboard, and if you press the T key, you can toggle visibility of the hitboxes strewn around the level. I've added a visible thick black outline to your turtle, which obviously the original NES couldn't do. But you have to understand a lot of the issues were the limits of the NES, so part of the fixes here are doing what it couldn't do. That black outline will give you forever visible space for collision since, like I said, I haven't changed the level layout at all. I've also fixed the camera panning so you'll stay centered in the middle of the screen to give you a little more breathing room and reaction space for hazards, and added little flowing bubbles in the areas where the undercurrent happens. I've upgraded the time limit to 2 minutes 30 seconds, which is an extra 10 from the original's 220. The electric zappy thingies now toggle slightly slower so you've got a little more time to get through them. There's a much more lenient hitbox on the insta-death seaweed pits, and that's it. I'm sorry, did you think I was going to make it easy? No, friends, that isn't good game design. What I've done is make it fair. In fact, with the same timer and just a single turtle rather than being able to shift between all four, some of you might argue I've actually made it harder. You're wrong, but that's okay. What I've actually done is rebalance the difficulty, keeping the same intrinsic challenge of the original level with modern day adjustments that overcome the original hardware's limitations, and then redistributing the resources, options and mechanics to keep the original level's overall challenge level intact. What I anticipate is going to happen is that those of you who are old, like me, will have the layout of this level ingrained in your muscle memory, so you'll probably find it a one-shot and done. But anyone under the age of about 35 who's never played the original before is going to have a hard time getting lost or struggling to get through under the time limit. And that's okay. Oh, and something to keep in mind, the graphics and sound effects aren't 100% correct. This isn't meant to be a faithful recreation of the presentation of the game, just something with the same physical mechanics and level design in place. Try it for yourself. The link is in the description, so get down in the comments, tell me what you think. Yell at me for only including one turtle, excuse me for it being the red one, they were all red at the start, but only true fans will know that. And fill me in on your memories of how this level traumatized you as a child. Then like this video if you liked the video you just liked, and subscribe for more videos like the video you liked since you liked it, and I'll see you the next time I'm thinking, hey, let's talk game design.